Last time on Dragon Ball What If, Beerus the Destroyer, awakened from his slumber, arrived on Earth to investigate about the Super Saiyan God prophecy, and thanks to Gohan's assistance, allows Goku and Vegeta to train under Whis to see if either of them could become his destined rival. Goku then challenges the Divine Feline to a sparring match, with Vegeta as his reluctant partner. However, even with Ultimate and Super Vegeta 2, the Saiyan duo were easily tossed aside by their godly adversary, leading to Goku using his trump card, Ultimate Kaioken. With this power-up combo, the orange-clad Saiyan was able to catch Beerus off guard, stalling just enough time for Vegeta to charge up and unleash his final flash, while also launching his ultimate Kamehameha, catching the cat in a pincer attack. But even that wasn't enough to seriously injure Beerus, with said deity knocking the duo out afterward, emerging victorious. Will Goku and Vegeta's training with Whis bear fruit? Let's see what happens now on Dragon Ball What If? Samui Kairi, Kyukoku no Hanno. A whole year has passed since the awakening and debut of Beerus the Destroyer. Due to their combined efforts and cooperation, Goku and Vegeta were able to achieve and master Super Saiyan God within the first 6 months of their training under Whis, and then proceeded to focus their efforts on improving their recently attained divine power. On the sacred world of the Kais, Gohan had resumed his training with Shin, Kibito, and Elder Kai like normal, but with even more vigor than before, anticipating for the day his father would come back from Beerus's planet and show the results of his special godly training. On Earth, Goten and Trunks had continued their training, but with Piccolo as their additional partner, since both of their fathers were off-world. They also joined the Namekian in visiting and training with Gohan whenever they had the chance. So, overall, our heroes have continued to make great progress in their pursuit of strength. This peaceful time, however, would be interrupted yet again by another threat. Only this time, said threat is an old adversary from the past. It was Frieza, who was resurrected in secret by his subordinates during the time skip, and is now ready to begin his quest for revenge after becoming way stronger through the plot. I mean, due to his 4 months of intense training. As Piccolo flies towards Frieza and his army's location, he is suddenly contacted by Gohan through his improved telepathy. The demonic disciple had sensed the Galactic Emperor's increased power arriving on Earth, and while he's confident in the capabilities of his teacher and little bros, he still wants to try and assist in any way he can if possible. And he knew just how to help his family and friends. He relays his idea to Piccolo, to which the nameless Namekian easily agreed, believing that it was a good plan. Once the Z fighters had arrived at the battlefield, Frieza was quick to notice that Goku was nowhere in sight, which made him wonder where his old nemesis was, if not on Earth. He also noticed that one of the Earthling fighters was a kid who looked a lot like Goku. Was this that whelp he had fought against on Namek? Shouldn't he be older? Or was he another child that the wretched Saiyans spawned? Oh well, it doesn't matter. They'll all die anyway, which would cause despair to flood in and drown the Saiyan's heart. The Frieza force charged at the Z fighters, intending on massacring them. However, they were easily beaten thanks to the overwhelming power and skill of Earth's defenders. Even Shisami, Taguma, and Captain Ginyu, who had switched bodies with Taguma later on, didn't stand a chance. Frieza eventually decided to join in on the conflict after his army's defeat, choosing to go after Goten first. However, the half Saiyan caught the fist before sending Frieza back with a punch of his own. Being countered like that had caused anger to well up inside the tyrant. But before he could do anything, Piccolo suddenly appears behind him, grabbing him by the shoulder before using instant transmission, teleporting to the sacred world of the Kais. Frieza was now bewildered. What planet was this? He then notices another figure right in front of him next to Piccolo. It was Gohan. Sensing Frieza's exponential increase in power, the heavenly hybrid asked Piccolo if he could get close to Frieza and teleport him to the sacred world of the Kais, so that the Earth would be safe from the Emperor's wrath. He also asked the three Kais to teleport off-world so that they won't be caught up in the inevitable fight between him and the resurrected monster, to which they did. Frieza looks at the kid for a moment before realizing that the child before him is indeed Gohan. But why does he only seem a few years older than when they last met? And if that other kid wasn't him, was he a relative or something? He then notices the halo hovering over the small warrior's head. This caused the evil lord to laugh out loud. Ha! So that's why he's still so small. The little chimp had perished long ago. Oh, what wonderful fortune. This must have been karmic justice against the miserable Saiyan for daring to defy and even kill him. It's a shame he wasn't there to witness the sheer anguish that Son Goku must have experienced at the loss of his dear child. But oh well, this will have to do. Gohan is unbothered by Frieza's disgusting glee, well aware of just how vile the tyrant is. He tells the planet-purging boss that he has been teleported to a place that is separate from the living realm, making it impossible for him to reach Earth anymore. This made Frieza super mad. That means he can't attack that backwater planet or reach Goku anymore. This insolent little zombie child just took his revenge away from him. He looks at Gohan with pure hatred. It seems he'll have to take Gohan's afterlife as compensation for this robbery. A sick grin spreads across his face, wondering if it was indeed possible to kill somebody who was already dead. He powers up, releasing himself from the inhibition that is his first suppressed state, entering his true form. Piccolo is shocked from the sheer power radiating off of the cold monster, as it dwarfed his previous level on Namek. Just how did he get so strong in such a short amount of time? Gohan was also surprised at Frieza's increase in strength, albeit less so than his mentor, and was more composed. While his old enemy is indeed far more powerful than he was all those years ago, it isn't anything the disciple of divinity can't handle. He powers up as well, instantly summoning only enough ki to match his adversary's level. Frieza suddenly charges forward, throwing the first attack, only for it to be parried by Gohan. The tyrannical emperor goes in for another strike, yet that attack was blocked as well. The battle between these old enemies turns into a high-speed exchange of punches and kicks. Frieza is throwing everything he has at the opponent, his assault carrying years of anger, hatred, and lust for revenge. Gohan, however, responded to the onslaught with the patience of a master, countering the barrage with a combination of parries and dodges, frustrating the frosty mutant each time he had failed to successfully land an attack. Gohan eventually decides to attack himself as he avoids yet another punch from Frieza before landing a punch of his own to the midsection, sending the tyrant back dozens of meters. This doesn't stop the purging fiend for long as he charges right back at Gohan with a kick, not relenting in his assault. This quickly became a repeated cycle of the heavenly hybrid knocking Frieza back and the Emperor coming back for more, as if he was a glutton for punishment. While some might view this as an impressive display of the villain's tenacity and determination to achieve his revenge, between you and me, I think this is straight up reckless foolishness. Gohan decides that maybe he wasn't hitting Frieza hard enough, uppercutting him in the air before appearing above his approaching person, smacking the space boss back down with the double axe handle, making him crash into the ground in a small explosion, creating a big cloud of dust. Out of said cloud emerges a valley of red ki blasts, charging at the godly pupil with the seeming intent of eradicating him. But the mighty halfling wasn't phased, stopping the blast dead in their tracks with the Ki before sending them right back at their creator. This was a diversion, though, as Frieza suddenly appears above his undead foe, creating and launching a massive death ball. Gohan meets the attack with a Super Masenko, stopping the giant energy orb from advancing. After a few moments later, the Half Saiyan then decides to summon the full power of his natural state, the supercharged Demon Flash piercing through the Death Ball, slamming against Frieza's body. The cold fiend could feel death almost gripping him as the Super Masenko was now burning his body. Desperate to prevent himself from dying again, the galactic ruler stops holding back, powering up as a golden aura envelops his body, disintegrating the ki blast that had threatened to end him. The purging ruler's body had become gold as well as gained a much more muscular physique. Golden Frieza boasts that he had created this new form to reclaim his position of being at the top of the universal pecking order. He then mocks Gohan, claiming that there was no way that the little zombie boy could defeat him now. Heck, he was pretty sure that the child couldn't even transform into a Super Saiyan. But said hybrid is quick to debunk this assumption, replying that he had long ago achieved the legendary transformation. Not only that, he had also refined and evolved the form beyond its initial level that Frieza had fought against on Namek. Wait, what? Gohan's eyes turned yellow as he is suddenly surrounded by a golden aura of his own, accompanied with bioelectricity dancing around the flaming energy. With a burst of ki, the scene then flashes back to 5 years ago, a time that was not long after the prodigious warrior's victory of his father's ultimate power. Gohan at this time is in a state of confusion due to a suggestion made by the Elder Kai. More specifically, a proposition of helping his student unlock his hidden potential through a special training method. The newly appointed disciple is curious about what this method is and decides to go along with the ancient deity's idea, not wanting to potentially upset one of his new teachers by rejecting this offer like he did with the ultimate ritual. Fast forward a few days later, Goku teleports to the sacred world of the Kais, with Vegeta joining in on the visiting trip. They were surprised to see Gohan's tail had grown back. Elder Kai claims that the tail was the key factor in unlocking his student's dormant strength. However, there was an issue. Gohan didn't feel any stronger after his tail was revived. And that was the problem with Elder Kai's knowledge of the tail. Even though he knew of its significance, he didn't yet know how it could be utilized to awaken the hidden power sleeping within the Half Saiyan. Luckily, Goku has a solution. Why not have his son master the Great Ape form? Vegeta could create a power ball, allowing the hybrid to transform, and then they all could help him regain his sense of self. Gohan at first is hesitant about him turning into a great ape, but Goku reassures him that he and Vegeta will be able to keep him under control. However, he soon found out that they could not keep him under control, as after learning how to create a power ball from Vegeta, Gohan had then used it to transform into a great ape, and that's when everything had immediately gone south. During the transformation sequence, the form's usual brown fur had changed into a golden color, as the hybrid has subconsciously activated Super Saiyan while entering the primal state. Goku and Vegeta tried their best to subdue their fellow Saiyan warrior, but even with Ultimate and Super Saiyan 2, they were struggling to stay alive. Vegeta was quickly put out of commission, because of course he would be, and Goku is barely able to dodge from his son's attacks. However, he was eventually smacked away by one of the ape's hands, sending the pure blood tumbling to the ground. Goku is barely able to get up in time to see a large foot raised up in the air, threatening to crush him into paste. However, at the last minute, the Saiyan manages to use instant transmission, teleporting away from the stomp and right behind the Golden Beast. Goku tries to grab the tail in order to subdue his son. However, the tail suddenly lifts in the air out of his reach before slamming the Saiyan into the dirt. Gohan's massive ears as a golden great ape allowed him to hear the sound of Goku's teleportation, which ultimately made Goku's efforts fruitless. The pure blood tries to get up again, but Gohan's massive hands grab hold of him before his father could do anything, and starts to squeeze the life out of the full-blooded Saiyan. Goku can only yell out in pain as he's being crushed by his own child. The Kaias can't even do anything to help, since as they just saw, teleporting wouldn't work. Gohan roars out as his power and rage continues to rise while crushing his dad between his hands. It seemed like the primal hybrid was actually going to kill his own father when suddenly he heard a voice entering his mind. It was Goku, as he had finally managed to break through the haze of rage that had enveloped Gohan's mind. The orange-clad Saiyan pleads with his son to not let the primal rage of this state consume his psyche. Gohan has managed to overcome this aspect of himself once before, and he is confident that his child is going to do it again, right now. This motivational speech was what was needed for Gohan to finally come to his senses. As he regains his rationale, memories start to flood in his mind, thinking back to all the times his rage would come out against those he fought. The Saiyans, the Frieza Force, and even said Emperor himself. He had always used this power to combat those who would seek violence and destruction upon the innocent, as well as his family and friends, and he's not going to let it control him and turn him into the same kind of monsters he had fought in the past. Tragedy had taken him from those he cared about, and he won't let the same thing happen to his father, especially by his own hands. Letting go of Goku, Gohan focuses his ki as it starts to rise even further than before. The power, the rage, the uncontrollable instinct. He focuses all his efforts in condensing them into his being, thinking of everyone that he fights for, using them as motivation to push forward. Gohan's psyche snaps as he roars out as loud as he could, his power ascending to never before seen heights, creating a blinding flash of light. This burst of power had brought the story back to the present, revealing the half Saiyan's person, only that he was far taller and more beastly than before. Frieza is flabbergasted by this mysterious transformation. Meanwhile, Piccolo is smirking with pride at the sight of his pupil, finally bringing out his strongest form to defend their planet against the menace from the past. With a smirk, Gohan calls out to Frieza, his new, deeper voice echoing with supreme confidence. What do you think of this, Frieza? I call it Super Saiyan Prime. At last, Gohan reveals the result of his training with the Kais, Super Saiyan Prime. Will Frieza be able to combat against the power of the Ultimate Saiyan? Leave a comment down below, as well as a like and subscribe in order to tune in next time on this Dragon Ball What If? だんだん心惹かれてくその眩しい笑顔に果てない闇から飛び出そう Hold my hand